Hey, Will,
Hey, what's up?
I've been thinking the U.S. healthcare system, it needs some improvement.
Yeah, there's room for improvement. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's a confusing, scary place for everybody involved.
Absolutely.
Physicians, families, patients, everybody.
Everybody. And I've experienced it from both sides, right? I'm a physician. I've also been a patient. So I wanted to use my platform to give people practical education, really the only way that I know how, by making jokes. So Dr. Glockenflecken's really fun and super uplifting guide to American healthcare is out, and it's a free resource that includes all my videos from the 30 Days of Healthcare series, alongside deeper explanations, also reliable facts, emphasis on reliable.
Yes.
All right. Figures, numbers, insights into how each of us can fight for a more humane, better healthcare system. Also, it has jokes.
Did you mention the jokes?
I did. Jokes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely jokes.
Well, this guide is great for anyone looking to learn more about U.S. healthcare, but especially if you are experiencing it from the clinician side for the first time.
That's right.
We really hope you'll check it out.
Get the free guide sent straight to your inbox by signing up for our mailing list, glockenflecken.com/healthcare. Enjoy.
Knock, knock. Hi.
Hello and welcome to Knock Knock Hi with the Glockenfleckens. I am Dr. Glockenflecken, also known as Will Flannery.
I'm Lady Glockenflecken, also known as Kristin Flannery.
It's Pharmacy Day.
Woo!
What's your experience when you go to the pharmacy? Do you have any idea how much you're going to pay for something when you go
No idea
Me neither.
whatsoever.
Me
In
neither.
any healthcare setting,
I
for
just-
anything.
That's true. It's just kind of like, they tell me what I owe, and I'll just
I
pay
mean,
it.
like, I gotta have the
What are you gonna do? I
medicine,
gotta have the
so
thing.
gonna have to
Gotta
pay.
have the thing. And we are learning all about what goes into that payment.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's not great for the pharmacists
Or the patients.
or the famous or the patients or the pharmacists, the patients. It's not good for anybody but the PBMs, it turns out.
Yeah.
So before you start blaming the pharmacists
Mm.
or the physicians,
Mm-hmm.
selfishly, I'll throw them in there. Before you start blaming those people for what you pay at your pharmacy,
Mm-hmm.
listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Because
Turns out there's some
it's
stuff going on.
under the surface, these purposefully shadowy organizations, these pharmacy benefit managers, the health insurance companies, they're all in cahoots.
Yeah.
And they
Turns out.
yeah. And so listen to what we're talking to Deborah Keaveny, who's president of Pharmacists United for Truth and Transparency, PUTT, P-U-T-T, which is a nonprofit that's doing a lot of great advocacy work on trying to just get the word out about what's happening to independent pharmacists and just pharmacists in general.
Yeah.
And patients.
And then by proxy,
exactly.
patients.
Because it's a lot of things are not going well, but some things are going well. The tide is turning a little bit. There's
Yes.
more attention being paid to the issues afflicting pharmacists and patients.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
There's just so many parallels. It's like they're following the same business model. PBMs are, let's do SAT. PBMs are to pharmacies what prior authorization / all that stuff is to physicians.
There is some overlap for sure.
It seems very parallel.
I will say, I think certainly the PBMs are just way worse.
Yeah.
They are so much more evil in how they do their job. And
yeah. But I think like if you're a physician listening, you'll recognize a lot of these tactics from the prior auth world.
And this episode really drives that home.
Yeah.
So Deborah Keaveny, great person, great interview, lots of amazing insight into this issue. And so
and a lot of really good advocacy work. They're working hard and making progress.
Check out truthrx.org, and you can find lots of great educational resources about like what the heck is a PBM, all in like any legislative efforts that are going on.
Yeah.
And so let's get to our interview.
Let's do it.
Here's Deborah Keaveny. Hey, Kristin,
Hmm.
I know I like to talk to you about the little Demodex mites, little tiny guys. Thought we could give that a break and just talk about the eyelid disease that they cause when there's an overgrowth of Demodex.
I like that idea. No mite talk.
So Demodex blepharitis, it gets misdiagnosed because a lot of the symptoms overlap with other eye conditions.
Okay, so what are the top symptoms that people should be looking out for?
Itching, swelling, irritation of the eyelid margin, redness.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like it could be allergies or something else.
Exactly. It could be several different things. But the key is if your doctor spots little crusties, they're called collarettes, but they're like little
Technical
crusties.
term.
Yeah, exactly. Then that's Demodex blepharitis. You just know it.
I like that there is a clear sign to know.
Yep. And once you're diagnosed, there's a prescription eye drop treatment available for Demodex blepharitis.
Phew, that is good to know.
To learn about the common symptoms of Demodex blepharitis and more, visit miteslovelids.com. Again, that's miteslovelids.com to learn more. This ad is brought to you by Tarsus Pharmaceuticals. Kristin, I got to tell you about a new podcast that every clinician should know about.
Ooh, tell me.
This is the Sepsis Spectrum.
Okay.
It's by the Sepsis Alliance and critical care educator Nicole Kupchik. This is really important. Each episode is about confronting blind spots in sepsis and antimicrobial resistance education. A lot of this stuff usually doesn't make it into textbooks or compliance training.
That's weird because it's super important.
Yeah, everybody needs to know about this stuff. You can listen to the Sepsis Spectrum wherever you get your podcast or watch it on the Sepsis Alliance's YouTube channel. To learn about how you can earn free nursing CE credits just by listening, visit sepsispodcast.org. All right, we are here with pharmacist extraordinaire Deborah Keaveny. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I've got I don't even know how we're going to get to everything. We're going to try to, but I just have a lot of questions about pharmacy, about GoodRx. I want to make sure we talk about that. PBMs. I've so many things, and what my goal for this episode is just to demystify like pharmacy for people. I want the public. I want people knowing, both the public and healthcare professionals, to understand the strain that pharmacists are under right now. What the pain points are, and how that kind of relates to just the healthcare system as a whole. That's an easy thing to do in like half an hour, right?
It is not, but we will do what we can.
I figured a good place to start might be PBMs. So the topic of pharmacy benefit managers, this is something that, I'm a physician. I'm not even sure I heard the term pharmacy benefit manager until I was already out in practice. And I think this is a big disconnect between like the world of pharmacy and the rest of healthcare is just the understanding of everything that goes into paying for medications, dispensing medications, all the people that have their hands in different parts of it. So if you could, let's start there. Let's just talk about pharmacy benefit managers, because I know you know a lot about the history of pharmacy benefit managers, and how it's changed over the years.
Certainly. So pharmacy benefit managers have actually been around for decades. And initially, they were transaction companies that facilitated getting a pharmacy paid for the prescriptions that they dispense. So think of it like a MasterCard Visa. You charge something, money's due, money gets to where it's supposed to go, and that's it. What they figured out was there was a lot more money to be gotten in healthcare, and they just kept expanding what their role was. And they got bolder and bolder and bolder because nobody said no. Nobody stopped them. Nobody really actually knew what they were doing. And there is so much money in healthcare that they could grab the millions and billions of dollars and nobody really noticed until recently.
So they started out as
like payment processors, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
So
And
before the pharmacy benefit managers came into play, a pharmacist used to fill out paper forms, send it to the health plan. The health plan would then process a check and send it back to the pharmacy. The PBMs came in and said they could do it electronically, make it faster, make it more efficient, save everybody time and money in the long run. And that's how they started. And that's what they should be and only be.
but then they eventually morphed into what they are today.
And yeah, what kind of things are they doing today? Where you mentioned that they have basically just started doing more and more and more. So what are the things that they're doing now? I'm not in healthcare in any capacity, so like this is all Greek to me. So it's a genuine question.
Oh no, and this is so complicated that it's tough to understand. So the next thing pharmacy benefit managers did was they started managing formularies. So they get to decide what medications you can take if you want to use your pharmacy benefit card. So they decide, and not really based on anything that's healthcare related. It's based on how much the manufacturer is going to pay them to put their product on the formulary. Because if a drug is not on the formulary, it loses market share because nobody is going to pay cash for the drug, basically. I mean, in the generics where it's cheap, yes, but in the brands, no one can afford to do that. And normally that would be illegal and a kickback, but they were able to get an exemption to that. And so what you'll see now in the formularies, it isn't necessarily what's good for the patient. It's what's good for the pharmacy benefit manager to be able to collect those rebates.
Mm-hmm.
And so
this sounds an awful lot like prior auth in the physician world.
Oh, it's even worse than that. I mean, with the prior auth, you now have algorithms. So the pharmacy benefit managers will also tell the health plans that we're going to protect your patient. So we're going to put prior authorizations in place so that, we're using the most efficient medication for that patient. We're going to deny, some prescriptions, things like that would maybe not be inappropriate. What you don't know in the background is you have algorithms and artificial intelligence that are actually denying care to patients. And the decisions are made probably not even by a licensed professional. It's all AI and people that don't have a license that are making these decisions. And it's clearly and absolutely financially driven.
Now, the argument that I've seen from the pro PBM lobby on social media is that the PBM protects patients from the big bad pharmaceutical companies.
Oh, big pharma.
Like
is that the idea?
Yeah, big pharma.
Okay.
Like I think they're really good at weaponizing the idea of big pharma, and you need PBMs to protect patients
from big pharma.
From the big pharma companies. Like I've seen that argument over and over again.
The exact same model. I really like.
So well, I want to hear from Deborah. Like,
crazy.
So what would you say to that?
So you're not wrong. Pharma is culpable to a degree, but if pharma doesn't play the game with pharmacy benefit managers, pharma doesn't get their products on the formularies, pharma loses market share. So in a sense, the PBMs are forcing the manufacturers to compete against each other to pay to play, or they fail. Now, the other argument that the pharmacy benefit manager lobby will say is, well, if we weren't there, gosh, prices would be astronomical. We're here to bring down prices.
Because the manufacturer could theoretically charge whatever they want. Is that the idea?
Yeah, pretty much. But when was the last time your premiums went down?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, seriously, when was the last time your co-payments went down? So if they're so damn good at keeping prices down, where is it?
Yeah, it's all it kind of gets jumbled up so let's actually do this. Let's what would the patient experience like? So when you have PBMs doing all of these things, deciding what formulary a medication should be on, or whether or not a medication should be on the formulary. What is the experience of on the end user, the patient, the customer comes to the desk at the pharmacy? What is the PBM doing that, and what is the experience at that end? Let's help put this into to perspective for people showing up at the pharmacy to get their medications?
Okay, so let's say you come to the pharmacy with your prescription card and you present your prescription to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist gets a little bit of history and actually sends the claim through to through the PBM. That's all done in real time with the pharmacy. So within a millisecond, we're going to know whether or not it's covered, what the patient's copay is, and all that kind of stuff. So a couple of things happens behind the counter that the patient maybe never even knows. Sometimes the prescription is rejected because it's not on the formulary, and we go ahead and contact the physician, get it changed, get the new prescription for the patient, send them on their way, and everything is fine.
That might be a prescription they've already been on for years.
No. Sometimes they'll show up at the pharmacy with something they've never been on, but we'll get that rejection from the pharmacy benefit manager, and then we try to help the patient in the background. We've gotten so good at that. A lot of times the patient don't even know what's happening. Sometimes there'll just be a rejection. It's not covered. There's no alternative. Sometimes we'll get a rejection saying that you are forced to go to mail order. You can't get it filled at your local pharmacy. And so we are the people that go down to the pharmacy to explain to the patient, I'm really sorry, but we can't fill your prescription, and here's why. And then we have to give them alternatives. You can try to opt out of mail order. You can call your health plan and complain, give them things like that. But solely the pharmacy benefit managers are dictating the rules for everybody.
It's funny you mentioned the mail order thing because I think it was just yesterday I got a call from my plan, very gently suggesting, maybe you should consider, going to mail order. And so what I want to,
Well, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get off of that, what's the incentive for them to do mail order? What's the model there? Why would they want patients to be using mail order?
Because they own the mail order and they can pay themselves whatever it is that they want.
Gotcha.
So where they would pay me $1.75, they would pay themselves $500 for the same thing, and there's nobody stopping them from doing it.
Interesting. Okay.
So if you're keeping track, so far we got the PBMs and the health insurance companies and the pharmacies that are all under the same umbrella.
They're owned by.
Yeah. So that's a question I have for you is because initially PBMs were independent, right? They're just their own thing. They're just a PBM company. At what point did they start, were they bought up by the United Healthcares of the world, the Aetnas, CVS? They all started this. When did this vertical integration start happening?
About the mid 2000s. I used to work for PBM 100 years ago. And that was back when Merck and Medco. So you had a PBM that was owned by a manufacturer. And then I worked for DPS, which was owned by SKF. The FTC finally did bust them up. But that was the initial start of where, wow, we can make this formulary. We can control it. Therefore, our parent company makes drugs. Let's put all of our parent company's drugs on the formulary, and we're all going to march into the sunset happy and rich. Once that got busted up, the PBMs got a taste of how much money that was and how much fun it was. Then they started integrating. And that's where you see, especially CVS, we always use as an example because they're one of the biggest, one of the big three. But I mean, they own the pharmacy, they own the health plan, they own the pharmacy benefit manager processor, they own labs, they own mail order, they own specialty, everything. Same thing with United Healthcare. The only thing missing is United Healthcare and OptumRx. It doesn't own a pharmacy chain. But if you can control everything within that silo and control every place that patient is touched, you can control the dollars like crazy. And if you're the only one doing it, you've got no competition because you're referring to yourself. There's nothing to stop you from charging or paying yourself whatever it is you want to pay yourself.
How come this is allowed?
Well, great question. For a long time, pharmacists were gagged in our contracts from talking to patients about, did you know your pharmacy benefit manager wants to charge you $175 for this? If you pay me cash, it's going to cost you $17. We were restricted from doing that right up until a few years ago. Now, there's still a gag clause in place that says I can't tell the employer what I'm getting paid and look to see what he's getting charged. That gag clause is still there. So down the street, I may have an employer that is using pharmacy benefit manager for their employees. I may be getting paid $1.75 for something, but the plan may turning around and charging him $70 for it. And I can't tell him and he can't talk to me about it because of the gag clauses. So they really do need to function in the darkness so that we don't figure this out.
Well, it sounds like pharmacists have figured it out.
We have, and we're just now starting to get. Not starting. We're finally getting a voice. We've been screaming about pharmacy benefit managers for years, but now legislatures finally know what a PBM is, and they know that they're bad, and they're now starting to help us. So we have a lot of legislation that's going to be rolled out that's going to help us. But for a very long time this is so complicated that explaining it to people, their eyes would glaze over, and it's like, I don't even think I can tackle this. Now they're starting to get it.
Yeah. And I want to get to legislation here in a second. But first, help us understand the effect that this has on independent pharmacists. Because I have talked to a few and I hear grumbling. I follow some people on social media. I hear grumblings about it but help people understand kind of how this is pushing out the actions of PBMs, how it's pushing out independent pharmacists.
Yeah, well, they are underpaying us like crazy, and that is by the contracts that they're sending us. And the argument back is, but you signed that contract, and you're right, I did. But guess what? If I don't sign a contract for the Caremark, the Optum, or the Express Scripts, I can no longer fill prescriptions for 30% of my patients because basically those three own 85-90% of the market. So if I don't accept that contract, I can't fill prescriptions. I'm in a small town at 2,500. If I say goodbye to a third of my business, I'm not functioning. So I'm hoping that I'm going to make it up in other things. The problem is the downward pressure and what we're being paid. You can no longer make it up in selling toilet paper and greeting cards and gifts and things like that. So most pharmacies right now have a side hustle that helps support their store. So I have friends that also own gun stores, also own liquor stores. Coffee shops, sell baked goods in their pharmacy. I'm an insurance agent. I sell insurance, and that's how pharmacies are able to survive. So the economics of pharmacy is just broken. I mean, 90% of my business is prescription filling. 90% of my prescriptions, that price is dictated by somebody else. I have no control over that price. And we start looking at that dynamics, and you've lost control, and they keep paying me less and less and less. It's not sustainable unless you have another side hustle.
And I've actually heard that sometimes you sell things at a loss, like
all the
prescriptions at a
time,
loss.
all the time.
Help me wrap my head around how that happens.
Well, there are some pharmacies that have decided not to even dispense brands anymore because we lose money on most brands because of the way that we reimburse. Now that's a risk. You can send that prescription to CVS or Walgreens or one of the other, big things. But pretty soon that patient's going to get tired of having to go to Deb's store for some stuff and another pharmacy for other stuff, and they'll just take everything with them. Or you are like me. I have a lot of group homes and nursing homes that we fill for. And part of my obligation to take care of those populations is to make sure that I am a fully stocked pharmacy. So I will do brands. I did not feel real comfortable saying, Martha, I will fill your brand because you happen to live in a nursing home. But Susie, I'm not going to fill your brands because you live down the street. To me, that wasn't an ethical decision. I was either needed to be all in or all out. So we were all in. Again, supplementing the income in the pharmacy allows us to do that. But more and more pharmacies are just going out of business. They can't sustain it anymore. And pharmacy, you used to be able to sell a pharmacy. So you put 25, 30 years of your life into a small business. You used to be able to sell a pharmacy, and they used to be part of your retirement, for your family, things like that. Now, when we get to the point where we're going to sell our pharmacies, most of us are praying that we're going to get out of debt because we've had to take loans out in order to keep operating, to keep doors open, to take care of our families and take care of our communities.
So who's buying up the
that was my
pharmacies
question.
then? When you have to close up shop, what happens?
It used to be the chains, Walgreens and CVS. Yeah. However, they have denigrated the value of our store so much, they know that they can wait us out. And we will just go under, and then they will get the files or the patients, by attrition because they're what's left.
Well, that's depressing.
It sure is.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Well, and while pharmacy is kind of in a depressive state, I've never felt more optimistic than I have now. I mean, we have a lot of good legislation things. The states have gotten very strong legislative-wise on a state basis. And when you look at state legislation versus federal legislation, we kind of have to play the game. Because if you are complaining to your Department of Insurance, Department of Commerce, whoever is supposed to oversee a pharmacy in a particular state, PBM is very good about saying, you know what? I know you're arguing with me, Deb, about this, but guess what? State of Minnesota can't touch this claim because it's ERISA, because it is a Part D claim, because it's a Department of Labor claim, whatever reason. And the federal can't help you with state claims,
Right.
what happens in the state level. So we have to walk legislation hand in hand. Federally, it works extremely slow. The states have gotten really good. So we had a lot of good legislation in the last couple of years that have kind of put the pharmacists in check. And hats off to Arkansas. Their last bill that they had passed was phenomenal. They're making the PBMs choose: are you either licensed as a pharmacy or licensed as a pharmacy benefit manager? You can't be both. And that's
great.
Brilliant. And
yeah, I heard about that legislation. So it's kind of helping to break up that vertical integration.
It's a start.
So you can't control kind of every aspect of the drug market, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a start. On a federal level, we're working with Pharmacists Fight Back Act was introduced last year. It's going to be reintroduced this year. That basically set a floor for what you can pay a pharmacy for a claim. That takes away the underwateredness of it. And then Elizabeth Warren has the pharmacists or the PBM, the Patients Before Monopolies Act, that's coming out too. So a lot of good things on the state, a lot of good things, but legislation works slowly. Things get watered down by the time it actually gets passed and signed. Then it goes through rulemaking, things like that. So we're also doing a lot of litigation. We're trying to hurt them both ways and get attention both ways. And we've gotten more traction this last couple of years than we have any time before.
That's amazing. What would be your ideal piece of legislation? Like, what would that do? Like, give us that. Like, you say it gets watered down. So if you could have your
most potent
form,
form.
what would you like it to? What do you want it to look like?
I would like it to set a floor for pharmacy pricing, meaning that we get paid for the cost of the drug itself and our operating costs, because we ought to be allowed to make a little bit of a profit so we can keep the lights on, pay our employees, that kind of thing. But I think we should also set a ceiling for it so that we don't have the profit grabbing that's going on now. So make it fair. That's all we would ask for. And then stop some of like the steering. So my patients get letters all the time, calls like you did, hey, don't you think you ought to go to, a CVS pharmacy, a mail order pharmacy, whatever. Stop that. Let the patient choose. And if you have the prices set, then it's set for everybody. Then there's no advantage to go to mail order, go to your local pharmacy, go to CVS, wherever you want to go. If the price is the price is the price, and it's the same drug. The same drug that I'm dispensing and getting paid $1.76 for, Express Scripts is dispensing and paying themselves $500 for. There's no difference in it. So if you can take that away, take away the games, stop the oppressive audits. So right now, a lot of pharmacies are going through audits from the PBMs. And it's not because we've really done anything wrong. They're more gotcha audits. It's you didn't get a signature from that patient in 10 days that they picked it up. You got it in 11 days. Therefore, we're going to charge you back for the whole thing. Or it's dumb things like that.
Let's take a short break, and then I've got a couple follow-up questions to that. All right, we are back with Deborah Keaveny. So Deborah, it boggles my mind that, like, talking about the phone calls and soliciting your customers, that they can do that while you have a gag order basically preventing you from saying anything negative practically about the way PBMs function and their pricing and everything. And so have you seen legislation that's starting to do away with the gag clauses, like, completely? Is that on the table?
Well, the gag clause between the pharmacy and the patient has been lifted. So we can now talk freely to patients. Where we can't talk is the end payers. And that's not really been brought up an awful lot lately.
I see.
With patient steering, Minnesota fined CVS for patient steering. And it was the largest fine that they had levied against any private company in the state of Minnesota. Wasn't enough because 2 weeks later, CVS is still steering my patients and I'm still sending in complaints.
How much was it? How much were they fined?
$125 million.
So like a Tuesday morning?
Oh, it's like spit in the ocean to those guys. It wasn't enough. And so we continued to complain and, they brought action again, but we kept telling the Commerce Department, you need to make this billions to get their attention. I mean, a few million is a line on their balance sheet, cost of doing business.
Yeah. How about the formularies? What are you, how are you doing on kind of revamping, their ability to steer formularies in one direction or the other?
We don't think they should be allowed to set formularies, period.
Has that been a part of any successful legislation so far?
It's been part of talks. It's not been involved in legislation, but we really do need to decouple formularies from pharmacy benefit managers.
I see Mark Cuban talking a lot about that. And that actually speaks to how, for lack of a better term, mainstream the discussion around PBMs is becoming, is that you're getting some very famous, very well-known people talking about PBMs. So I'd actually be curious to hear your thoughts about cost plus drugs and his approach to pharmacy.
Yeah, Mark's a good friend of independent pharmacy. He understands the value that we bring. He understands that we're there to take care of patients. And he has had quite the trip trying to get to where he is today. I mean, his cost plus is nothing real new because when we set our cash prices, we're doing it on a cash plus basis. We just never called it that. But Mark has done it on steroids. And the fun thing about Mark is he tried to get into the branded side also to be able to offer brands on the cost plus side. Ran into a huge wall because the PBMs and the manufacturers don't want Mark playing in that arena because it's going to shine a light and a lot of things that they don't want light shine on. So we absolutely love Mark. In fact, we've used Mark's cost plus examples for quite a bit when we're trying to show the comparison on what somebody could pay for a cash basis for a prescription versus what your insurance company is going to charge you or what your insurance company charges your employer for it. So
that actually, I'm a little confused. Why would the manufacturers be so against it? Because it seems like they're beholden in a lot of ways to the PBMs. So help me understand that dynamic.
So let's assume I'm a PBM and I want to keep a branded drug on my formulary because I really enjoy all that money that I'm collecting from the rebates. Now, if that branded prescription or manufacturer sells that brand to Mark Cuban, there's no rebate involved because Mark's not going to ask for the rebate. There's no pay to play.
So yeah, from the manufacturer side of things, they like having the status of being like a preferred medication on a formulary. And so that's what they get out of the
and they do. And I think they don't mind being villainized for it because if they don't play the game, they lose market share and their product isn't on the formulary. Right. It's that simple.
All right. Well, let's pivot a little bit away from that. I want to talk about something else that probably a lot of people.
This is making you cry. You have a tear.
I'm so sad at the state of pharmacy, but it is nice to hear some of the more positive aspects of kind of where things are going and the attention that it's getting, which I think is fantastic. But I want to talk a bit about GoodRx because that's something like I came out of med school like thinking, oh, let's look, GoodRx, you'll go to this website, look, you can get the medication for this amount and this is great. And it wasn't until, basically through social media, I actually heard pharmacists talking about how harmful like GoodRx can be to pharmacists that I realized, oh wait, this isn't all it's cracked up to be. So can we talk a little bit about this?
We can. So GoodRx is a discount card. They don't provide care. They do nothing except set prices. And so let's say most independent pharmacies don't accept GoodRx because we don't think we should pay somebody a fee to set our cash price. That's number one. Number two, GoodRx has been sued by the FTC and fined by the FTC for selling PHI, private health information. I don't want to be a party to my patient's information being sold. Now they claim that they're not doing that anymore, and that's all good and well. But once you've been there, you don't get my trust back that well.
Right.
It's interesting that the pharmacy benefit managers and health plans are also working with GoodRx. They have GoodRx discount pricing embedded into the algorithms that they are using to set prices for both patients and pharmacies. Now, the interesting about that is the PBMs are there to save money. The PBMs are there to make sure that the patients get a good deal. So if the PBMs are doing such a great job, why are we needing to use GoodRx embedded into the whole process? I thought that's what they were supposed to do. Secondly, and this is part of the lawsuit that's going on right now. So pharmacies are suing GoodRx on a class action basis. There's actually 13 separate class action lawsuits out there surrounding this that are in the process of being combined into one. The courts are going to make it more efficient so that they don't have to fight this on 13 levels. They can do it on one. But what's going on in the background is GoodRx pricing is being embedded in there, and they're sharing prices in the background between the different PBMs. Now, it's going to get real in the weeds and real confusing, but if I'm sending a claim to CVS Caremark, and they are also looking at GoodRx, they are also looking across the spectrum of all the pharmacy benefit managers, all have their own discount plans, things like that. If they go out there and find something that's cheaper, they will bring that back, whether it's a GoodRx or CVS. It could be an Express Scripts. It could be an Optum. It could be a Single Care. It could be something else. They bring that back. That's the price that they're using for the pharmacy. So there's all this price collusion going on in the background. What's important about that is there's a fee charged to the pharmacy in the background that we don't have any choice of. And that fee is split between the PBM that we sent that claim to, the PBM that had the lowest price, and GoodRx. So how is that helping the patient? And how is that not just driving up healthcare costs all in all? So we have a lot, there are so many fingers in the pot of the healthcare dollars. And if we could get all the middlemen and all the shenanigans and all the charlatans out of it, imagine how much money we could spend on actually taking care of patients, of actually doing healthcare and wellness and what we're supposed to be doing.
So from the patient point of view, to be fully transparent, I'm not following 100% of this, but from what I do follow, it sounds like if patients knew this model was the model, even on a very general level, I don't think they'd be happy about it, right? Like, this is not doing anything good for the patients, it sounds like.
Well, from a patient standpoint, if you come to my pharmacy with a GoodRx card and your prescription card, we're going to explain to you that GoodRx is not insurance. So you can either use your insurance card or your GoodRx card. And if your
GoodRx is essentially a coupon,
as
far as the patient is concerned.
Yeah, good way to put it. But you can't use it in conjunction with your insurance. It's either or.
One or the other. Okay.
So let's say we send the claim through for you and it comes back with a really high copay, and the patient says, but I'm looking online and I can get that cheaper with the GoodRx card. So now pharmacy has three choices. One is we explained that, yes, we can reverse the claim for you, but it's not going to count towards your deductible or, your maximum amount of anything, in the insurance side, because they're no longer going to see that claim. Number two, if we send it through GoodRx, just understand that is not insurance and we won't do it. So we'll send them on to the CVSs, the Walgreens, the Walmarts, anybody else, because I won't do it. I won't participate in GoodRx. Or we can give you the Keaveny drug or whatever independent pharmacy cash price, which many times is right at about real near what the GoodRx price is. So now you're going to get the good deal without having your PHI, your private healthcare information out there. You don't have a third party involved, and your pharmacy isn't paying a fee to give you the price you could probably get at the pharmacy anyway.
What do most people decide to do? Like, what do the customers do? A lot of times they're like, no, I want the GoodRx. I'm going to go to CVS, or like.
Rarely. Most of the time they will say, well, I'll just take your price, or gosh, I didn't know that. Or, they don't know. But with all the advertising, the wonderful things that, you see on social media about GoodRx.
Yeah.
People don't know.
So who would be, if you had to choose one group that it would have the most impact, for shining a light on all of this stuff? Like, is there one group that does not fully realize what's happening? Maybe that's patients, maybe that's pharmacists, maybe that's, I don't know, help physicians. If there's one group that
You want your
we should be
message, yeah.
educating about this, who would that be that would or who would you start with because it makes the most impact?
I would probably start with the patients, mostly because pharmacists have been yelling about this for years. And it was until we started getting our patients engaged and having our patients fight with us that we started getting more attention. More people started listening more. And the nice thing about talking to patients is we had to get out of the weeds and talk to patients on their level, like you. I mean, we've been fighting this for so many years. It's old hat to us to talk about it. But when you start talking to someone that's not familiar with it, you're almost 10 years ahead of them. And you got to take a real step back and get back down on their level until they come up to speed.
I'm going to ask a question from a physician standpoint. So sitting there with the patient, we'll use dry eye as an example, something that I treat all the time, and lots of different treatments for dry eye. What is there a way, like if I want to start a patient on Restasis, is there a reliable way for me to find out for that patient before I prescribe it, like roughly what it might cost them? Is there a resource? Is there, because I could do Restasis, I could do Xiidra, I could do, there's different things I could choose to do, and I am more in tune now to healthcare costs for patients, like probably than I used to be, and part of that's just because of what I do on social media, but also my own health history. And so, for the practicing, healthcare professional, is there what can we do to help figure out for patients, costs?
That might be a pain in the fanny, but you can go to their health plan's formulary and you'll see what's a tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to see where those drugs fall in the formulary. The patient can call the 1-800 number on the back of their card and ask, hey, if my doctor writes a prescription for this, what's my copay going to be? The pharmacy can go ahead and run the claim, but then we won't know if it's covered, not covered until that claim comes back. And by the way, the PBM charges me every time I transmit a claim to them just because they can. So looking at the patient's formulary would be a good place to start. Forming a relationship with an independent pharmacy is another good thing. They'll give you a good idea. There are also manufacturer coupons available out there for many on the name brand products, and independent pharmacies are pretty good at finding those resources for patients.
Those are good tips, like that. Could just find it. But I mean, I guess part of the problem is how often do the formularies change? Because it sounds like that's a problem as well, right? Based on
they can change the formulary anytime they want to.
At the drop of a hat.
Of a hat. So there has been legislation proposed, hasn't gotten very far, that says if I'm going to sign up for your health plan for 1 year, you should not be able to change your formulary for 1 year, because especially in the Medicare world, because today I'm picking my plan based on my conditions today and what I'm taking for medication, not what you're going to change the formulary to next week.
Right.
None of this sounds legal.
I
mean, I am cynical enough now to believe that it is, but it sounds like it's only legal due to sneaky loopholes. Like none of this
it almost
should be legal.
It almost just seemed like government was just like kind of set it and forget it kind of thing. Like
they're just not paying attention to how it's run wild.
We're just going to let pharmacy just kind of figure itself out, and then look where it got us. Kind of thing. I don't know.
I think it's a little more sinister than that. I think the pharmacy benefit managers are 10 years ahead of us, and they have things embedded in our agreements that we haven't even thought of yet to protect themselves from things that might come down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate them, but
they know the kinds of things they want to try, so they stick that in there.
Yeah.
Evil geniuses.
Well, let's do. We have one more thing I want to do with you, Deborah. This is kind of a game, but not really. So Kristin's not in healthcare, and so she's kind of learning a lot about this, and just from what I tell her about, which is probably not much about this kind of stuff. And so what I want to do is I want to give I have a list of 10 terms that some of them are real, some of them are that I made up. All right. And so I'm going to pose a term to Kristin, and she's going to tell me if she thinks it is real or fake. And then Deborah, you're going to tell us what that term is, if it's real. Okay. What it means. These are all related to pharmacy. I hope I did this right. All right. So
you could tell us if not.
So here's the first one.
Okay. I'm not going to look. We really need to get a second screen for you to use
Okay,
to
I'll
pull
pull it
these
up
up.
where
So
you
I'm
can't
just going
see
to
it.
block it.
All right. Kristin,
Okay.
clawback fee. Real or fake?
Clawback fee.
Clawback fee.
That sounds too brazen to be real, so I'm going to say fake.
Deborah, tell us about clawback fees.
That is
They're
real.
real?
Here's how it works. You come to the pharmacy to get a prescription filled. I tell you that your copayment is $150. You pay the $150 at the pharmacy. When I get my remittance advice and my check from the pharmacy benefit manager, it will have clawed back $75 of that to keep.
And they literally call it that. That's why I thought it must be fake, because it's a very accurate description of what it is. But like to just point it out like that in the name is bold.
Yeah, it happens every day.
And it can't it also happen like months later?
Absolutely.
So imagine getting, a certain amount, like $100 into your business.
Yeah.
And then
and you think you have that for operating expenses or whatever.
4 months later,
Yeah, they're like, nope, give it back.
Wait a second. No, I need that money. Like that's preposterous. When I first learned about clawback, I was like, I cannot believe this is a real thing.
Yeah. And there's no regulation around like a time period where they have to.
Has that been I'm sure that's been a topic of conversation.
Yeah, it has been. And there's some states that have successfully got legislation through, Minnesota being one of them. We have non-kickback or a clawback. No retrospective, what do they call it? Can't remember the name, but no retrospective clawbacks in state of Minnesota. And we have taken a few PBMs to task on that. What happened is, but gosh, Deb, that's an ERISA claim. Gosh, Deb, that's a federal employee claim. Minnesota has no jurisdiction over it. Therefore, we're going to keep your money.
All right, let's do the next one.
Okay. These are depressing.
All right. Spread pricing.
That sounds real.
I do think that's real.
That is real. That's where they will pay me $1.50 and charge the employer $5 and keep the spread.
Oh, that's not what I was hoping it was.
What's the largest spread that you've seen on a medication?
Oh, hundreds of dollars. And sometimes that's on a very inexpensive generic. They will just stupidly set the patient's copay. And then we have the hard conversation with them saying, your insurance company wants to charge you hundreds of dollars. If you do my cash plan, it's much less. What do you want to do? Before the gag order was lifted, we couldn't say anything about that, but now we do.
Pharmacy loyalty tax. Real or fake?
Tax. Oh, I mean, I'll say real.
I made that up.
Okay, good.
Good, because I was just going to ask you what that was.
I was afraid that what it was is if you were loyal to your independent pharmacy, you get taxed.
I made that up.
I'm glad that's not
All right,
real.
here's one. Performance-based adjustment. Is that a real thing in pharmacy or a fake thing?
Performance-based. I feel like I need more context. Like whose performance?
I'm not giving you any context.
Okay, then real.
That is
Deborah,
real.
is that real? Yeah.
That is real. So here's the way that works. My performance is judged based on nothing that I can actually do. So the performance is based on, did you come take your medication, adherence, your medication, did you get your refill done on time? Are you a diabetic and you are also on a statin? The matrix of the performance is entirely out of control of the pharmacy. Furthermore, the things that I'm judged on as far as performance may not even be appropriate for the patient. We have no way to say it. So if you're diabetic, they want to see you on a statin. Maybe you're allergic to statins. Maybe you can't take them. Doesn't matter. You're not on a statin. I'm nicked for it. So then what the pharmacy benefit manager will do is retrospectively look back at my claims for the last 6 months, and they will extract money or claw back more money because I didn't perform. Now, these matrices are made to where I will never perform. So they like to say, well, we're going to pay pharmacies to perform. We're going to pay pharmacies that are, really good at what they do. The matrix is written to where we can't win.
Right.
Yeah. When has it ever been like we're going to pay you more because you've done well, right? That's probably not going to happen.
Right.
How are we doing?
It's just, I need a nap.
I hope people are understanding who are just now learning about the pharmacy side of things. Like there's this, it's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, right? It's just there's just so many different ways that the PBMs and it can just, take a chunk out of you. All right, here's one.
Okay.
Underwater reimbursement modifier.
Gosh, fake.
That's totally fake.
Okay,
yes,
good.
Absolutely.
But I will say we do get underwater reimbursements all the time.
Oh, that's a real thing.
That's
That
a
part
real
is
thing.
real. It's the modifier that's fake.
That's whenever I assume that's when you have to sell things at a lot, like you sell it and you just don't get reimbursed the full cost of the medication. Is that when
Correct.
you're underwater? Okay, gotcha. All right, here's we'll do one more. DIR fees.
That sounds real.
Yeah.
I think I've heard you talk about that. Maybe
I made a video about DIR fees. Yeah, tell us what DIR fees are.
Well, DIR fees are direct indirect remuneration fees. They were never intended to be used on pharmacy. And basically what they are is gives the pharmacy benefit manager the ability to go back and look at our claims and then claw fees back. So this is in the Medicare world. We fought really hard to get DIR fees dissolved entirely. The only success that one of our national organizations had was to move them to the front end. So DIR fees have not gone away. They are still there. The only difference is instead of me getting those DIR fees taken away from me in 4 to 6 months, where I have no idea how to marry up, what exactly are you taking the fee away from me from? What did I do? How does that work? And by the way, patients had that medication and taken it 6 months ago, but here we are, reconciling the DIR fees. Now what's happened is the DIR fees are actually put on the front of the equation. So at the point of sale. So instead of me waiting for 6 months to know how much I got screwed, I know how much I got screwed right away.
Super.
At least earlier.
How nice of them.
Yeah.
Well, Deborah, I want to thank you so much for your time. Now, before we go, I want people to know about some of the organizations, the things that you are heading up and actively participating in. There's the PUTT organization, right? The Pharmacists United for Truth and Transparency. Tell us a little bit about the work you're doing.
Yeah. So you can go to truthrx.org and kind of learn about us. But we are a nonprofit that is responsible for educating the populations and legislatures about pharmacy benefit managers and all the yucky things that they do, as well as shining light on a lot of things. And the project that we're working on right now is to audit TRICARE. TRICARE is the plan that takes care of the prescriptions for our service members, and also TRICARE for Life, our vets. And we are finding out that Express Scripts is not treating our service members, our independent pharmacies, our vets, or the taxpayers very nicely at all. So we have asked the government to audit TRICARE based on their pricing. The example that we use is atorvastatin is a very cheap medication. Express Scripts will pay retail pharmacy anywhere from $1.77 to like $9. But amazingly enough, they force and incent their members to go to Express Script mail order, and they pay themselves $519.62 for the same medication. So we would like somebody to look into that to protect our service members and protect our best.
Is that the FTC that should be responsible for something like that?
I don't.
What do you think is the group that should be holding?
I know we're getting it through a few committees.
Yeah. Okay.
Through the Senate and also through the House side. So somebody at some point is going to take a look at it and decide that that's the wrong thing to do. I mean, maybe Ways and Means ought to be looking at it.
Good. Well, you can. I know on a lot of social media platforms at TruthRx, you can keep up to date with everything going on in this world. And I just encourage, especially the healthcare professionals. I'm always talking about making sure you get active in your state medical societies and your specialty medical societies, but there's so much overlap in what we do. We all need to be more educated about what's happening on the pharmacy side of things because it affects everything. It affects what we do as physicians, certainly the patients and pharmacists. And so just be informed. That's just keep your ears open. If there's legislation, I'm sure you can find all about whatever active legislative efforts are going on through TruthRx. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And then the other two things that we are pushing for is going to be the legislation that's coming out on the federal side. Buddy Carter has a couple bills right now that we're very supportive. But the Pharmacists Fight Back Act and then also Patients Before Monopolies will be two big things that we will continue to push. And all it's going to do is protect patient access to pharmacy and keep our doors open. And that's why we fight.
Perfect. Well, we'll end it there. Thank you so much, Deborah, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. This is a lot of fun.
We tried to be as uplifting as possible on this podcast.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just hard.
It's hard. Things are
because
dark sometimes.
Things are happening. But I do want to highlight the headway that's being made.
Yeah.
Right on the legislative side of things.
Right.
Because that is something that you can take away as like, things are happening.
Right. Yeah. Like she said, she's never felt more optimistic.
Right.
Actually,
we also need to support those efforts. All right. Should we get into a comment from a listener?
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
So this is from Anna. This is great. So who knew an ophthalmology podcast could be so interesting? Hear that? Oh, wait, it makes perfect sense for me because I'm a giant nerd and I never met a science I didn't like. Here's the story. Story number 1. I got a spider in my eye on my honeymoon.
No, thank you.
We rented a cabin in the mountains,
boy.
and there was a
Thanks, Rob.
spider web from a tree down to the car, and I didn't notice before walking through it. How often have you walked through a spider web?
Well, I try not to.
Do you see it? But sometimes you can't see it. The very small spider got stuck in my eyelashes, and I couldn't manage to get it out. I ended up smushing it, and then its dead body got stuck on the surface of my eye, and when I tried to blink it out, it only moved further around / behind my eye. So probably just got stuck underneath the eyelid. I swore I could feel its corpse inside my eye socket all day, but my partner told me it was just my imagination and kept me busy with things like go-karts, amusement parks, slingshot rides, etc. Would anything be able to distract you from that? Okay. That evening after dinner, I absentmindedly rubbed my eye, not too hard, don't worry, and my hand came away with a spider body covered in tears. Of course, I immediately showed it to my spouse and said, I told you so. And they admitted they had believed me all day, but knew it would eventually come out on its own and didn't want me to have a bad day worrying about it. I'm just trying to...
That person does not have arachnophobia. I can tell you that. That's the difference between me and that person.
I'm trying...
I mean, nobody would like that experience, but there's no way I could think about anything else if that had happened to me. I would gouge my own eye out before I just let that go.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to imagine how you would react. There's no way I
told you.
I could be like, if I just said, hey, don't worry about it.
No. I'd be like, hello, have you met me?
Let's just try to have a fun day. It's just
I'd have some choice words.
I loved Spider Corpse. That was great. I could feel its corpse. Inside my eye socket.
You know what I was afraid of is that she was going to say she went to sleep and then the next morning it was in the corner of her eye, her eye had flushed it out. Ugh.
Thanks for that story, Anna. I think we have a second story from Anna, but let's save it for the next episode. Let's save it. I think
Okay.
I think a spider body in your eye story is good. So
Okay.
next week we'll tell you
Anna seems to
the
live
other
an
story.
interesting life.
All right. Thank you for sending that in. And you guys send us your stories about eyeballs or otherwise. You can email us, knockknockhi@human-content.com. Visit us on our social media platforms. Or you can go to our Human Content Podcast family on Instagram and TikTok at Human Content Pods. Thanks to all the great listeners leaving feedback and reviews. If you subscribe and comment on our favorite or your favorite podcasting app, or on YouTube at Glockenfleckens, by the way. That's our YouTube podcast channel. We'll give you a shout out, like at DivePixel25 on YouTube said, hilarious episodes, so much fun to watch. I assume they're talking about just all the episodes are hilarious and so much fun to watch. So thank you. Thank you for that. We also have full video episodes up every week on that YouTube channel at Glockenfleckens. We also have a Patreon, lots of cool perks, bonus episodes where we react to medical shows and movies. Other members of the Knock Knock Hi community are there, and they're wonderful people. Anybody who's not wonderful, we put in jail. Early and free episode access, interactive Q&A, live stream events, much more. Patreon.com/Glockenfleckens. Speaking of Patreon community perks, new member shout out. We have two Jessicas.
Ooh.
Jessica S. and Jessica M. Thank you, Jessicas, for joining. Shout out to the Jonathans, as usual. Patrick Lucia C., Edward K., Mr. Granddaddy, Caitlin C., Brianna L., Mary H., Keith G., Parker, Muhammad L., Kaylee A., David H., Gary M., Eric B., Marlene S., Scott M., Kelsey M., Brian S., Sean M., Jessica M., Hawkeye MD, Bubbly Salt, and
Johnny.
Oh, and an extra shout out to Brian S.
Yes.
We shouted him twice this episode because we missed the last time.
So thank you, Brian S.
So thank you, Brian S. Patreon Roulette, random shout out to someone on the emergency medicine tier. Laura T, thank you for being a patron. And thank you all for listening. We are your hosts, Will and Kristin Flannery, also known as the Glockenfleckens. Executive producers are Will Flannery, Kristin Flannery, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brooke. Editor and engineer Asa Portiz. Our music is by Omer Benzvi, and what a musician he is.
Sure is.
To learn about Knock Knock Hi's program disclaimer, ethics policy, submission, verification, licensing terms, and HIPAA release terms, go to glockenflecken.com or reach out to us, knockknockhi@human-content.com with questions, concerns, or fun medical puns. Knock Knock Hi is a Human Content production.
Knock, knock, goodbye.
Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen, or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Help you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.